Well, this is a band that, you either love or you hate. I don't think there's any in between when it comes to Godsmack. And now they're here with their 8th and what is actually their final studio album, Lighting Up the Sky. It's their first record in 5 years since When Legends Rise, making it their longest gap in between the records that they've ever had, as they usually try to keep a 2 to 3 year pattern going. But I guess things were going down, and while they were making this record, they decided that it was going to be their last, as I remember Sully Erna actually confirming it a couple of years ago. So they were big in the early 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s new metal rise, and they never really died off. They just kind of changed sound, and I guess people got annoyed with it because they weren't really that interesting before, and then they became less interesting when they decided to delve into like mainstream radio rock, or dad rock as most people like to call it, because at this point in time the only people I know who like Godsmack are dads, except my dad. He doesn't necessarily like Godsmack, maybe some of their older stuff, but he's not like a big Godsmack fan. And I decided to give this album a try because, it's their last, so maybe they'll actually try their hardest this time, maybe they'll actually put in the effort. And I gotta say, the instrumentation was good. The people who were playing the guitars and the drums, they did excellent on this record. Too bad Sully Erna's voice ruins most of these tracks. I mean, when we talk about Sully Erna, he sounds like if you had James Hetfield and Scott Stapp singing together on an album, and that's not a good thing. Even though I'm a Metallica fan, James Hetfield's voice has never been great, and we all know the memes about Scott Stapp and his voice. I mean, it's just been memed to hell and back. There was a couple favorites on the record, Truth and Lighting Up the Sky. Truth was a nice acoustic track that, was definitely better than Under Your Scars from the last record, and the title track finishes off the record. It can get pretty epic in places, don't get me wrong. I think it was nice closer to, kind of a generation of a band that's been around for a long time. So, yeah, I'd give it to them with that. They definitely picked the right track to close the album off. Some of the okay tracks were You and I, Red, White, and Blue, and Soul on Fire. I think most of those had to do with the instrumentation being really good, but again, Sully Erna's voice just kind of ruining everything else about the track that, stops them from being really enjoyable. And then we have the rest as my least favorite. Surrender was the first and, the only single for me that I heard when this record was being announced, and I didn't like it from the start. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't catchy. It wasn't, anything interesting. It was just the same generic bullshit they were doing from the past record, and it didn't impress me. What About Me, Hell's Not Dead, which I don't understand what that means. Hell's Not Dead? Like, was it out and now it's back in? I don't get the reference. I sat there, listened to this song a couple times, and I'm just confused at what Hell's Not Dead means, because if you're in hell, or at least if you believe in hell, then you're dead. But I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking it. It's just a stupid title to a song. Let's Go, Best of Times, and Growing Old. All of these songs lack anything from vocals to, really good instrumentation, to even choruses. A lot of these choruses on this record are just weak in general and give you nothing of interest to go off of. And to me, this is a pretty weak way to call it quits if this is definitely their final record. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know why I was expecting better, because after When Legends Rise, when they really went into like the radio fodder type sound, I should have just expected them to keep that sound going with a tinge of going back to what they used to do. But like I said, even back then, aside from a couple of songs, this band was never interesting in the first place. It was like they were kind of edgy in places, but at the same point in time, when you go back, read the lyrics to their songs and stuff like that, it just is like, maybe they tried a little too hard to be edgy back then. And with this album, I'm sorry, it might be slightly better than When Legends Rise, but I gotta give this a 2 out of 10. There was just not a whole lot interesting about it. And like I said, if this truly is their final album, then it was a terrible way to finish off your quote-unquote legacy in the rock world. But again, that's just my thoughts. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say in the comments below. But until then, stay safe out there, and I will catch you all in the next one.